5 people, including a 4-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl, were injured in Verkhnaro-Hanka in the Kharkiv region. In the afternoon, a drone destroyed and set fire to their home, and in Pizzeredne, the bodies of 2 people killed were pulled from the rubble of a house destroyed by a Geran-2 drone, and another injured person was hospitalized. In the Shoska district of Sumy region, Russian drones attacked an agricultural enterprise. 2 elderly female workers died under the ruins of the building. Another woman is in the hospital and her condition is critical. The occupiers dropped 3 guided aerial bombs on Drushkivka in the Donetsk region. They killed 2 city residents and wounded another. 2 people were injured in Belenke, which the enemy shelled with artillery. There is also a casualty in Dobropilya. During the day, drones attacked Kherson. A man and a woman were hospitalized with blast injuries and concussions. A resident of the village of Arkhangelske was injured due to the detonation of an unknown object. 4 more civilians were wounded in Komishani and Bilozerka. A 3-year-old girl and her father were injured at night during a drone raid in Odessa region. Private houses were damaged, a kindergarten was destroyed, and a large-scale fire broke out at the port. Containers with food and tanks with oil caught fire. The occupiers struck the center of Novorod-Siversky in Chernihiv region with Geran drones. Homes, the employment center, and shops were smashed. 2 wounded law enforcement officers were taken to the hospital. 3 adults and a teenager were injured in Vilnyansk, which is in Zaporischschja. Drones damaged houses and a gas pipeline there. There's also a wounded person in Orekhiv. An enemy missile was destroyed by explosives experts in Riwne region. A local resident informed the police about a suspicious object found in a field that looked like a barrel. An investigative team, explosives experts, prosecutors, and representatives of the Security Service of Ukraine went to the scene. After examining the find, they realized it was the warhead of a cruise missile. The warhead contained almost 350 kilograms of explosives that did not detonate. The dangerous find was loaded up and taken to a special site where it was safely detonated in a controlled explosion. Police once again remind everyone, do not approach suspicious objects and especially do not touch them. You must immediately get in touch with the highly qualified specialists. Ukrainian ballistics. The defense company Firepoint has published the first footage of the test flight of the FP-7 missile. As its co-owners previously stated, this missile is something of a replacement for the American ATACMS missile systems that the United States has supplied to Ukraine. But according to them, the FP-7 is cheaper. The missile's maximum speed is about 1,500 meters per second. Its warhead weighs up to 150 kilograms. It is capable of flying a distance of no more than 300 kilometers, and the duration of such a flight is just over 4 minutes. Just a week ago, Firepoint announced that it is in the final stage of testing ballistic missiles. So soon, Ukrainian FP-7s may be able to strike military targets in Russia without electricity, heat, or water. The night before, the Russian city of Belgorod and part of the region were plunged into complete darkness. Locals claim they saw missiles flying around midnight toward one of the electrical substations and the thermal power plant. After the explosion, electricity began to disappear in homes, and then the radiators went cold. The shelling was also confirmed by the governor. According to him, critical infrastructure was seriously damaged. 60,000 consumers were left without electricity. Kindergartens, schools, and hospitals were switched to backup power. This is not the first time Belgorod has come under attack. Earlier, there were even reports that due to the strikes, the city risked being left without basic amenities until the end of the heating season. The IAEA reports a local ceasefire near the Zaporischschja nuclear power plant. According to the agency, this will help begin repairs on the backup power line to the Zaporischschja nuclear power plant. At present, demining operations are underway to ensure safe access for repair crews. This was reported by IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi. Last week, the IAEA stated that the Zaporischschja nuclear power plant is operating on the only remaining main power line, while the backup line was disconnected earlier due to military activity near the distribution station. The agency's experts working at the Zaporischschja nuclear power plant have not had access to this area for several years due to security restrictions. Let me remind you, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, the Zaporischschja nuclear power plant, was seized by the Russians in February 2022. Since then, all 6 reactors have been in cold shutdown. War between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Reports indicate an Afghan attack on a Pakistani nuclear facility and military base. Media outlets are reporting casualties and injuries. The number of victims is still being clarified. Last night, Pakistani authorities carried out strikes on areas of Afghanistan and its capital. They call this retaliation for the Afghan attack that took place the day before. The Pakistanis say their target was the Taliban movement. They accuse it of a series of attacks against their country. For their part, the Afghan authorities, who are themselves representatives of the Taliban, have launched an offensive operation and accused Pakistan of escalating the situation. Both sides provide different figures regarding the dead and wounded. Pakistan claims that during the attack they eliminated more than 70 Afghan Taliban militants. The opposing side claims that only 8 people were killed. These figures cannot currently be verified by independent media sources. A fragile truce had prevailed between Afghanistan and Pakistan since last October. It was reached through the mediation of Qatar and Turkey after a wave of the bloodiest border conflicts in recent years between these countries. Iran has rejected American proposals regarding its nuclear program. Negotiations with representatives of the United States, which were held the day before in Geneva, ended without the signing of an agreement. Tehran did not agree to Washington's proposal to destroy its 3 main nuclear facilities and hand over its entire stockpile of enriched uranium to the United States. Trump's representatives also insisted that the agreement with the United States be indefinite, unlike the arrangements reached by previous presidents. Despite the fact that the agreement was not signed, both sides still reported some progress in the negotiations. Therefore, the meetings may continue later in Vienna. President Trump is pressuring Iran to abandon its nuclear program. In particular, he has been threatening military action for some time and has sent American aircraft carriers to the Persian Gulf. Embezzlement in the energy sector? More than 50 million Hrywnjas, which were supposed to go toward the restoration of the Trypillja thermal power plant, have been embezzled. The National Police and the Security Service of Ukraine uncovered a group that was responsible for construction work at the facility. The contractors purchased materials from affiliated companies, where the prices were a third higher than the market rate. In this way, they managed to cash out 50 million hryvnias. Essentially, this is looting during wartime. The Trypillja thermal power plant has been attacked dozens of times by the Russians. This is one of the most powerful thermal power plants, supplying electricity to the Kyiv, Cherkasy and Zhytomyr regions, and millions of Ukrainians depend on it. During searches of the suspects' homes and offices, equipment, shadow accounting records, and over 19 million hryvnias in cash were seized. An ambulance for violators. In Bukowina, some operators decided to transport men liable for military service right up to the border in a medical vehicle. This guaranteed them safe passage through checkpoints, since they would also turn on the siren there. After that, they showed the passengers a walking route to Romania. They charged between $7,000 and $13,500 for their services, which clients had to transfer to a crypto wallet. But the ambulance was eventually stopped. Inside the vehicle, instead of patients, there were 6 men aged between 25 and 32 from the Kyiv and Saporischschja regions. As investigators found out, the scheme was organized by a native of Russia who lives in Kharkiv. He is currently being sought, while the ambulance driver has been detained. He faces up to 9 years in prison. As for the passengers, administrative protocols were drawn up against them for attempting to illegally cross the border without certificates of completed work. The Verkhovna Rada has reduced bureaucracy for businesses. According to the adopted law, if payment for services is made in a non-cash form, and this is stipulated in the contract, certificates of completed work may not be required. This innovation will make it easier for Ukrainian companies to cooperate with European business partners. Significant savings are also expected on the preparation, mailing, and storage of paper documents. Companies will be allowed to use only an invoice, that is, a bill of sale. According to government estimates, simplified document management could save entrepreneurs a total of about 20 billion hryvnias per year, and now the law requires that acts be signed by both parties, the customer and the contractor. And this could cause difficulties, such as delays in processing documents or misunderstandings with the tax authorities. However, the new measure will not apply to everyone.
It should be noted that acts remain mandatory for state funds, local budget funds, the lease of state and municipal property, construction, and charitable or humanitarian aid. That is, there are exceptions when it is impossible to do without acts of completed work between the parties.
Hostages of war. In Saporischschja, a branch of a horse breeding farm continues to operate under shelling. 200 animals have already been evacuated from there to Poltava and Mykolaiv regions, but 50 racehorses still remain under fire right next to the front line. Why are they hesitating and not evacuating them? TSN correspondent Daria Nazarova knows the answer.
On February 14th, these stables shook from a powerful explosion. The Russians struck the horse breeding farm's office.
Well, you see here, the walls are slanted. Here are the shrapnel marks, the beams are cracked and splitting.
You said you evacuated everything on Saturday, right? Immediately.
Yes, on Saturday we took everything out right away. By evening, all the property from the office had been removed. There was nothing left here.
At 11 in the morning, a 250-kilogram aerial bomb hit right next to the building. The employees were lucky, no one was injured. At that moment, there was no one nearby.
It's dangerous to keep people here because the whole building is cracked and damaged. For now, the girls are working online, and we're looking for an office somewhere to resume our work.
Now the building is in an emergency condition. All around, there are shattered trees and a crater left by a Russian munition. Another Kabi hit the neighboring house.
The KB hit right here. It exploded with force, then went straight down into the ground from that side over there. This is the house in front of the office.
But perhaps even more than people, it's the animals at this branch of the horse breeding farm that are frightened by the explosions. Thoroughbred racehorses were trained here for competitions. Before the full-scale war, there were 250 of them. 200 were evacuated in time before the shelling became too intense. But there are still 50 left in the stables. Recently, an air bomb landed right next to them. The animals miraculously were not harmed.
They were out in the paddocks, and they were running around a lot, really scared, and even broke down the doors to rush into the stable. It's frightening, but where can you take the horses? We have to keep working.
Since the beginning of February, the workers say the shelling has become more frequent. The Russians are just bombarding everything around with guided aerial bombs.
I was already at home, sleeping, when I heard some kind of whistling, and then there was a really powerful explosion. After that, I was trapped under the rubble, there was earth everywhere, and the guys helped pull me out. And then about 50 meters away, there was another hit from a Kabi.
Over the past 2 weeks, this village has become almost deserted. People have left for the neighboring village of Novomykolaivka. On the now empty streets, only chickens remain. However, evacuating the horses from under the shelling has become a real problem. The stud farm has only one special van for transportation.
They write, evacuate them, we're there. Why didn't you evacuate them earlier? Then help us, give us a vehicle. There are plenty of horse transporters across Ukraine. But no one is helping.
Even this van couldn't get through for a long time because of the damaged anti-drone tunnels.
The anti-drone nets, there was icing, the nets collapsed, the horse transporter couldn't get through, well, they were sagging. The horse transporter is 4 meters high. We were stuck because of this for a week and a half.
As soon as the weather stabilized, the nets were repaired. At the plant, they are hurrying to resume the evacuation before the horses are harmed. Previously, they were taken to the Mykolaiv region. Now the racehorses are ready to be received in the Poltava region. This is temporary, the workers hope. They do not lose hope that all the horses will return here home.
We'll bring them back, I think, even faster than we took them away because they're coming home.
However, for now, that's just a dream. Soon, the horse transporter will leave here for the neighboring region, and the stables will be empty. Daria Nazarova, Ivan Khoroshko, Andriy Kupovka, Zaporischschja, TSN 1+1, Marathon United News.
Money for Ukraine. The International Monetary Fund has approved a new loan program for our country. It is about $8.1 billion over 4 years. As Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko reported, Kyiv will receive the first tranche, $1.5 billion, in the near future. These funds will be directed towards financing the budget deficit and supporting macro-financial stability. The head of government emphasized the importance of the fact that, in the 5th year of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine has guaranteed international financial support from its partners and resources for the stable functioning of the state. The government also reported $41 million in aid from Japan. These funds will be directed toward urgent reconstruction needs, strengthening critical infrastructure and supporting socially significant sectors.